Let me shift my view so that I'm not only seeing me. There we go. Namaste. Yeah, the Zoom namaste. So just take a really big cleansing breath. Just so the title for tonight is Back to the Beat of the Basics. And the reason that we want to begin to look at the basics and look at the fundamentals is because of where we are right now. I mean, I'm not just talking about our global collective karma as far as pandemic and political division and all of this stuff. What I'm really speaking about is seasonally. And so we're in a season now. This is really referred to, you can just say, call it the season of death, right? It's a season of, we're moving into leaves falling. Then we'll be moving in from this season of movement and cold and moving inward. We'll be moving into an even stronger season of death that eventually moves into the season of new birth. And so not only are we looking at our history of cycles and patterns of where we are now, but we can really see it with everything that's been going on. And right now we're in a place where we are now beginning to build some momentum of letting go, of this cycle of letting go, of allowing, let the leaves of your consciousness fall, and so kind of that, with that being where we are seasonally, where we are with things and how they've been going, in Ayurveda, there's a law, it's called the law of alternation and continuity. Things stay how they are until they don't anymore. It's just the law of nature. This is the idea of back to the basics. We get so concerned about feeling like we've got to get in there and control things and all of this. But the truth is that nature is a flow of cycles and patterns. And what our job is to learn how to get into alignment with these cycles and patterns. And so what do we need right now more than anything? And what we need right now is we need to kind of step back internally and look at foundational principles. Now, I got a little cheesy because I kind of am a little cheesy. I went and got my nails done earlier. And when I was getting my nails done, I was like, this is sort of back to the basics. People are starting school, we're moving into a new season. And even with global pandemic, division of politics, so on and so forth, moving into November and December, things are going to be drastically different because of the law of alternation, following the law of continuity. And so I was like, wow, what better thing to do than to come up with the ABCs of the basics? So these are my lovely notes. I whipped up the ABCs of the basics. I've got all these teachers on here. I figured you'd like it. Someone's going to type this into chat for me so we can email it to you. So you don't need to be reading the chat. I'd rather you be looking at me. Okay? So it's only there. So it'll be there for you for later. So the first one, A, is attitude before aptitude. Now this is a basic foundational teaching that we all know logically. We know that our attitude matters more than any aptitudinal basis that we could ever have, but we really start to determine our self-worth going, do I know enough? Am I enough? Am I worthy? Am I, fill in the blank? When in truth, our attitude is always going to supersede aptitude. And as I share these with you guys, I'm sharing them with you specifically because the Rasa Yoga system is a system of thriving. It's a system of leadership development, of leading oneself. And so as I'm sharing these things with you, I'm addressing them because this is exactly what we return to seasonally within the system of Rasa Yoga. So the next one is B is for breath, right? Breathing, returning back to the importance and the power of our breath. If you've attended a class remotely with us, or if you have been in class, or if you've been a member of the Rasa Yoga community for a long time, you begin to start to realize that breath is boss. You know, it's like when we're moving, when we want to move, many people will say, what do I do? What do I do? How do I do this? And the first question will be, well, what's the quality of your breath right now? Right? So breath is boss. Next, this one's really important. C is for choice. Really realizing that your life and what you're experiencing right now is an amalgamation of the choices that you have made. Now, I'm not going to say that it's super easy to make different choices because, of course, we're all dealing with our own past pain and with our own issues that we're dealing with. And when you're studying in the Rasa Yoga system and when you're in that whole engagement of that formal training particularly, and whatever level of mastery that you choose, it will always come back to being able to take an inventory without judgment, but a very broad inventory, objective inventory, and taking responsibility for the choices that you make. You know, stepping out of blaming others, stepping out of victim mentality. Next, D is for discipline. When it really comes down to it, you know, people ask me all the time, how do you fill in the blank? I've had other yoga schools that actually ask me, how do you guys have so much going on, get so much done? And the truth is, it all always comes down to just good old discipline. I'm not talking about discipline from the perspective of right, wrong, good, bad, or punishment. I'm talking about our top brain down idea. And you can just look at the word, and in the word is disciple. And really learning what it means to become a disciple unto my own attitude, breath, choice, right? Those foundational qualities there. Next, E is for elegant. We're all meant to live and to move about in an elegant way. Yoga and Ayurveda are truly the teaching and the beauty of elegance. All you need to do is look to nature, right? When you see that principles of Fibonacci or, any of the fractal patterning, is there elegance in that? Absolutely. The nature of all of our being is so beautifully elegant, even in our pain, even in our suffering. The principles of nature is always seeking a stable base. And I promise you guys, no matter how much fear you might be experiencing or how much distraction you might be experiencing, the more that you kind of back up and you're in the discipline, you're taking responsibility for your choices, not blaming others, returning back to your breath, and being more concerned about your own attitude and your own state of mind than pointing the finger at others, you'll know this elegance that I speak of. The next one, F, is for fun. We've got to have fun in life. And I say that fun, F is far-reaching, U is for unifying. Y'all can tell I love systems and, mnemonic devices and acronyms, but F is for far-reaching, U is for unifying, N is for non-resistant. See, I was able to squeeze a few in there. That's the elegance of fractal patterning that I was speaking of. So fun. G is for goals. Yes, yoga is a goal-oriented practice. Counter to what many yogis have shared with me, Padma, I think you're a bit too goal-oriented. I don't see that as a path of yoga. My friends, lying at the core of yoga philosophy and yoga psychology is something called the Purusharthas, the goals and aims of life. There are very specific goals for us to look toward, and it's mastery in moving in and through the material world, mastery of our perceptions of beauty, shifting ourselves from sensory-based judgment to presence and being able to find and see the beauty in all things. The next main goal of life is Dharma, really living the laws of nature and principle and understanding what it means to be free, liberated within this human experience. See, I see how many I can slip in there. And I just whipped this up like in the last 15 minutes. Okay, so H is for, I was torn, habit, but I'm able to mix this up a little bit. A habit of honesty. Honesty doesn't sound like an H word anyway, does it? It should be up there in the A. Right? Making a habit, being clear on what our habits are our habits supportive, or are our habits taking us down? And the reason that honest is so important to be there is that from the perspective of yoga psychology, what honesty actually is not what I say to you, but it's how I think, how I speak, and how I act. Are they consistent with one another? Do I have a habit of processing information in a way, thinking in a way that's aligned with the words that I use and the actions that I want to take? Because all habits, or the sabotaging, when we're looking to create new habits, all sabotage that occurs when we're trying to create new habits and we find ourselves going back to the old habits, it all comes from our inability to be honest. In other words, our inability to let our thinking, to allow our words and our actions that we maybe haven't quite developed our goals, our knowledge of fun, elegance, discipline, choice, breath, and attitude, that if we haven't developed that into a coherency, honesty can be very challenging. Most of us live behind an emotional mask. And what we see as the chaos, the cacophony in our world today, really the seed of this is the inability of the individual to live in alignment with actions, words, and thought. So we experience or we feel a sense of dishonesty in the world. The next one, see, I did this so recently, I'm really surprising my own self here. Oh, the next one, awesome. It's I amness. I am. And understanding that when your words, I am amazed at how brilliant this is. Okay. So your words, right? You must understand that the power of your words are influenced by your thought, and your actions, they're born out of the most important words you use. Or what are the words you use right after I am? In your thinking, the words that you use right after I am will define your future. And are you defining your future with I am, filling in the blank based on your past and what somebody taught you are? Are you filling in that I am with I am loser or whatever, I am something less than, right? Instead of defining your future with I am love. I'm talking words of truth. Words of truth with a capital T have no place for argument. They have no opposite. Love and the expansive love of infinity has no opposite. And so it's incumbent upon you to learn, to study, practice, learn what it means to be able to say, I am. And something that is what is aligned with the truth of who you are. And that it's even more important that that's your go-to when you're under stress. No matter what happens, you know, when we're under stress, we get squeezed. And when we get squeezed, what comes out? You know, if you squeeze an orange juice comes out because it's an orange. But squeezing you, what have you been repeating as far as the I am and what really comes out? You might tell people that you're all about, woo, pro this, pro that. But if you get really squeezed, What are you really pro? What follows the I am? Right? The next, J is for joy. I'm not talking about a cheerleader type joy. I'm talking about a fullness within you of gratitude in the moment, a joy for taking a breath, and the joy being alive simply for the sake of being alive, not needing to add anything else. K is for a kick in the ass, right? The most basic of basics. You know, Tantra Yoga, main precept, you need a teacher or a guru, because we all need a kick in the ass sometime, right? And a kick in the ass is the most basic of all basics. I need them. I contact my teacher when I am like, okay, I am like in this state. This is what I need. I know it, you know, and I got to suck it up and take it, right? So we all need a kick in the ass sometimes. L is for laughter. Learn to laugh at the kick in the ass that you need, you know, not go, oh my God, you know, my teacher, my guru, my whomever, they saw how I am and they said, they gave me a kick in the ass. Laugh about it, because it's part of being human. You know, we're all flawed. We're all flawed. My teacher always says that no matter how enlightened the being, insanity exists. Enlightenment is one that can recover quickly from their own insanity. So let's laugh, right? Laugh at ourselves, watch funny things that cause us to laugh, you know, laugh at jokes that aren't even funny. And I'm talking about true, pure laughter, right? Laughter from a heart of true joy. Next, M is for mother. You know, all of us, believe it or not, perceive source or creator, God, the divine, much aligned with our perception of our own mother, or that which showed up as a mother for us. Could have been, and mother could be both mother and father, but that which we perceive as what we first bonded to, the most basic of basics. And the mother we first bonded to set us up for whether the universe is friendly or fear-based. Our perception of the world, because when you're little tiny, you look and that being that shows up as mother is like God. And that is the first impressions on the subconscious mind. And we actually carry that forward. And so refining our view and taking a broader, higher view of what mother truly is. In yoga psychology, we learn that mother is the archetype. It's the light side of victim. The opposite of mother is victim mentality. It's the darker archetype. The lighter archetype, and is also associated with our first and second chakras, is the light of the mother. And I'm not, and again, we want to transcend beyond biological mother. But how are we mothering ourselves? How do we, and I don't mean helicopter, right? I'm talking powerful mother, like the mother of Durga or Kali. How are we mothering ourselves? How are we mothering our planet? Are we aligned with Mother Nature, Prakriti, or do we fight with her? Do we see nature, the great mother, as friendly or unfriendly? When a hurricane is coming along, do we see that as unfriendly? Do we blame others, or do we see the mother doing what the mother must do? Okay, the next one is N for need. We need each other. And those are words coming from a great mother. We need each other. There's nothing codependent about the knowledge of how much we need each other. As a human, as a species, we are one organism. Our role within that and the space that we hold, like a cell within the organism, is to be a healthy functioning cell. I need you to be a healthy, functioning cell. And I need you to accept the fact that you need me and I need you and we need each other. When people try to take that, island into myself mentality, it hurts the species as a whole. We're only as strong as our weakest link. And those that are suffering and in pain, those that show up as evil, they are a product of our collective consciousness. It doesn't just happen out of the blue. A rogue cell is a rogue cell because of its environment. I and you, we contribute to that environment. If we point our fingers and say, what a problem we have, the more you perceive problems, guess what? The more you're contributing to those problems. You are actually the energy, part of the energy of a problem. And so it begins with this basic notion and idea that we need each other. And we need to do what it takes within our own being to be the rising tide that lifts all other beings within the environment. Is it possible to do it in this lifetime? Maybe yes, maybe no. But from a foundational perspective, we are here to learn to live that way, as though we can do it within the environment. That is our dharma and our true nature. Let's see, what comes after in? Objective. To develop objectivity really kind of goes with what I was just saying. I know, this is brilliant, right? So, first of all, the term object. We got a real problem in our society, and it's called narcissism. As a mental disorder, narcissism, the individual that's narcissistic, sees people, places, and things as objects to serve their end. And the reason this is happening is because this is a low brain function. From the higher brain perspective, and in yoga psychology, when we learn to become, we will learn to become objective about what we see, when we can learn to take the thoughts of our mind and see them as the objects that they are. Let me explain. Our thoughts, when I spoke on honesty, our thoughts, our words, and our actions, they become something. We are always creating something that will form into some manifested object. Oftentimes we're creating and building things we don't like, or we're losing things we don't like. From the perspective of yoga psychology, the sadhana and the practice of yoga psychology, as we learn to become aware of the thoughts that arise in our mind, we start to, the observer develops a capacity to see the thoughts here as I view them. In other words, like watching a movie, right? It's nothing more than objects moving along in my mind. And that's why we even have a practice called noting and labeling, where we label, if I'm having a thought of judgment towards someone, I'll say judging, 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 judging. And that becomes like an object that I just allow it to move on its way. I don't grip around it. If I don't do that, and I don't have that observer's mind, then the objects actually begin to manifest, and I begin to create things I don't want to create. Have you ever been in the middle of an argument with someone and you realize that when you started out, you were starting out to really speak your heart, and you found yourself in the middle of something that had nothing to do with what you started with? I've even heard myself say before, I don't know how I got here, but this is not where I meant to go. And that's because I don't have the ability to be objective. I don't have the ability as an observer to sit and really hear what this being is saying and to allow the thoughts of my mind to continue as objects just moving along, giving it absolutely no power. Instead of being objective, I hear what that person is saying, I wrap my brain around it, and I give it energy that I don't mean to give it. And I actually bring it into some manifest form of discord that I didn't really mean to do. Next P is for, I bet anybody that knows me knows what this is, practice. Practice, 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 practice some more. And it's also for pattern. Because of we have this inability to be objective, to be the observer in life. We have this inability to do that. Y'all see how I keep slipping in more than one for each one. We have this inability to really be objective because we just flat out don't practice. You know, my little granddaughter said the other day, she made a low grade on her advanced math. I said, why'd you make a low grade on your advanced math? She said, let me explain. I'll explain to you why. I said, okay. But what she was really saying to me is she didn't practice enough. She said, let me explain. The way my teacher does this, of course, you know, I didn't say it to her because you generally don't tell an almost 18-year-old this kind of stuff in the moment that they're very emotional. But the fact is she hadn't practiced enough. She doesn't understand the pattern in this advanced math class. She doesn't understand, first of all, she doesn't even understand the pattern of the teacher. Nothing wrong with the teacher. She just has her own patterns, her own ways. And she doesn't understand, she hadn't done enough drills and doesn't understand the pattern of the essence of the formula. So she's going to point the finger and say, let me explain what happened. Interestingly, I got an email that same day addressed to the parents. This is, you know, just so you know, the class didn't do so well on this. I have recommended that they should be practicing every day. She says, oh, no, that doesn't work for me. Oh, okay, there we go. Practice and establish supportive, coherent patterns that are supportive to you. So the next one, Q. I had two words. Who has two words for Q, you know? But I had two. The first one was quiet. The importance of a quiet mind. Not a quiet environment, guys. A quiet mind. When you have a quiet mind, there can be a cacophony outside of you. But your mind remains quiet. The other Q is quintessential. And I love this because when we're talking about foundational principles or back to the basics, people often feel that mastery or, you know, that ability to see the world with wisdom is some sort of complex thing. But complexity, confusion, control, confound, those are all tools of those that seek power over other people to fulfill their own needs. Quintessential and the quintessential nature of the sage, the scholar, and the warrior is actually quite simple. You know, you guys, I hope, saw the slideshow because the slideshow was meant to create a basic foundation for this talk because I can't possibly say all the things that are in the slide, right? But Leonardo da Vinci said simplicity is the highest form of sophistication. Yoga is the teaching of sophistication, simplicity. And the quintessential nature of the sage from that quiet mind is a worldview that actually shows up quite simple. People will come to me with these complex, confused, confounding problems, and they're problems to them because they can't get control. But really, what's at the heart of the issue, the quintessential missing link, is the warrior, the scholar, and the sage, the yogi. Okay, next, R is for rhythm and routine and rest. A lot of R's, but rhythm first and foremost. And what is rhythm? Right? A repetitive pattern that brings about a coherency, an understanding that yoga, and when I say yoga, I'm talking about the Rasa yoga system, because not all people approach yoga. There's real yoga, and then there's something else, right? The something else is what the world thinks that it is. And real yoga and the system of Rasa yoga lies deep within it a quintessential rhythm. And that rhythm is very wave-like in motion, right? And it doesn't necessarily move slow, but it's wave-like. There are two other main rhythms that are here and or here, kind of inert. But it's very important to understand that the rhythm of how we think, how we move, and what we consume. We want a coherent rhythm in this. And at the heart of Rasa Yoga system and practice, from beginning to infinity, is all about establishing a deep, soulful rhythm. And with that, rhythm comes from routine, ritual, cultivating a ritual mindset. For those of you that are newer to Rasa Yoga, and even those of you that have mostly come to general classes or participated live stream in general classes remotely, I am doing a healing immersion, and virtual attendance is possible. This is a beautiful thing to do, to really see what it looks like in your home to establish a rhythmic routine that is deeply soulful. Anybody that's ever been in person to a healing immersion with me sees what that rhythm looks like. You get the experience of it. I encourage you to take a look at that, and that we have that available virtual in November. A really important time, guys. It'll be after the election, a couple weeks after the election. So I figured that's going to be one of the most important times. I'm really going to look at from the perspective of heart rhythm. And of course, maybe the rhythms that we've been carrying that aren't the patterns that we seek to continue to reproduce. And also learning what it means to rest. Rest isn't being a couch potato. Rest is truly the capacity to calm our nervous system. Okay, I thought this would be cute. T is for toes. Spread and lift your toes right now, wherever you are. If you're new to yoga, you'll feel that as you spread your toes and you lift your toes, your physical, quintessential, basic foundation begins with your toes. My teacher says that death begins in the pinky toe. In other words, what he is saying is that when we lose lack of awareness of our pinky toe, that's the beginning of the end. So spread and lift those toes and practice it at all times, and you'll find support your feet, bring stability to your ankles, starts to bring alignment to your knees, your hips, and so on. So toes. Use for understand. Understanding. Seeking to understand than to be understood. And I say this with the divine mother kick in the ass. Any of you on here that your leading edge is to be understood, stop it. Stop it. You're not entitled to be understood. But you are responsible for doing what it takes to cultivate a deep understanding. And the greatest understanding that you can seek to cultivate are those that you hate, those that you despise, those that you are disgusted with. every one of those beings began as an innocent baby, clamoring for his or her mother's love, acceptance, and heart. Was clamoring to have his or her needs met. Somewhere along the way, when you see or you perceive evil, the cause of suffering, whatever it is, seek to understand first. Seek to understand. Get out of your own way. Stop your opinions about presidents. Stop your opinions about all of this, everything. Stop your opinions about the downtrodden. Stop it all. And how about getting quiet and seeking to understand? To understand. And really, the other word for understanding is empathy. Empathy is the highest form of evolution of the human. To understand is the highest form of any being's thinking processes. V is for vow. Vow to understand all beings. Your human self, your ego is going to say, now, Padma, I can't understand everybody, and that's not responsibility. And you said I need people. I don't need people. You're lying to yourself. But if you need to live the lie for a while, go ahead. I won't stop you. And I understand. Because sometimes taking the mask off and seeking to understand can hurt so much that we may not be quite ready. And I do understand. And I vow in this lifetime and every other lifetime to touch every possible corner of understanding and empathy. Not only for others, but for my own pain, for my own human, remember I talked about being the observer? Because there's us and our higher brain and even our higher nature. And then there's our history, our ego, our lower nature, right? Understanding of that lower nature is empathy. You don't need to analyze it anymore. You don't need to figure him or her out. You don't need to blame mama, blame dad. You don't need to blame anybody. You must learn to cultivate mercy. Mercy's a highest form of understanding and empathy. Mercy even implies that you start with a judgment, but you choose instead reconciliation and understanding. Understand those that you're disgusted with. Bring them close to you as much as you can, and see your reactions as the problem, not them. See your own reaction. Remember when I talked earlier about the problem? If you view a problem, the problem is there because your energy's in it. You're the one, if you see our president as a problem, truth is you're really the problem because you're the one that sees the problem. From his perspective, there's no problem. Do you understand? I'm talking about taking real responsibility and vowing for that. Now, with that being said, W is for wonder, W-O-N-D-E-R. You must balance that vow and that willingness to understand with a sense of curiosity and wonder. Not childish. Childish is this, but like a child with a sense of innocence and love and wonder. We can't get too serious, y'all. I got a problem with that sometimes. I get too serious. I'm very candid about it with students that are around me the most. We even have a saying, it's hashtag NSS, hashtag not so serious. Because I told them, I said, Padma gets too serious sometimes, But that's what the ego does. The ego gets so serious. And there's a real distinction between serious and reverent, right? Instead of seriousness, let us be reverent and let us view it all. Go, I wonder what's going to happen next in this great Leela or drama called humankind. I wonder. I wonder what next year is going to look like. Isn't it interesting to see what's going to happen next? See it all. That's present moment consciousness. Okay, so, I took a little poetic license here with X. X is for excellent. I couldn't use my E. I needed elegant there. X is for excellent. And then what other am I going to use for X? Could say X-ray, so you could be really candid. That did pop up so that you're transparent. But the truth is, Panaji says we are all born islands of excellence. As humans, I feel as a whole, part of the organism of the species, we're really letting excellence slack. And I'm not talking like this. I mean here. And I see it as an observation. Many people will say, why do you train so much and hang out at that Rasa yoga? Gracie may as well go ahead and say, because I shoot for excellence. Because I'm an Olympian in life. That's why. But we've grown so entitled as a culture that it's like, but what about my Coors Light time? What about my happy hour time? What about my, life is going to come and go. Just like this pandemic. This pandemic is going to be long gone and forgotten in 10 years. But you know what? Or its effects are forgotten. But what will be remembered are people like me that transcended it. Our community is transcending this. And you have my word. I can tell you right now, I put my word on it, and I'm good for that. That this will be long gone, and just like the pain of 9/11, right? Long gone. But what do we remember? Our heroes. We remember those that showed up and lifted up their eyes, right? Lifted up their eyes beyond blame and showed up as true heroes. We've forgotten what excellence is. Most beings wake up in the morning so looking to satisfy their senses, either seeking pleasure or a resistance to pain, that there's a suffering that begins to occur, and the natural outgrowth is addiction. And excellence, where did that go? Right? We want to learn to be excellent individuals, excellent in our character, excellent. And it's never too late. Every day, I vow to wake up in the morning and go, dear God, Almighty Brahman, how may I be a reflection of the force of your creation? Excellence. Y is for yes. When you wake up in the morning, stop saying no to yourself. There's this other kind of lazy thing that's happened where people say, I just say yes to too many things. Oh God, oh my God, I've said yes to so many yoga classes, and oh my God, yes to organic food, and it's so expensive. And that's how I hear it. The complaint. It's time for me to say no. Set boundaries. Nobody knows what that really means. Learning to say yes to you. Yes to sustainability. Yes to the fundamental principles to life. Yes to the law of the farm. Yes to what you see, needs to happen. Why do we not say yes? Why do we not say yes to training in our lives like an Olympian? Right? The first one is we're scared as hell. We're super scared of the work. We're so scared that, but what about my time? What about this? What about that? And then there's not this understanding of quality over quantity, or function over form. Right? We're scared. We don't say yes because we're addicted to self-help. This is our second reason why we don't say yes. We live in a culture right now that is so addicted to what my husband calls pep rally mentality, emotional highs. You know, like the motivational speaker coming out and everybody's there for a weekend and they get super high, or like going to a revival, you know, woo, I'm so emotionally high, and they hit this emotional high, and they buy the books, they buy the recordings, and they go home and they're depressed because they have no idea how to apply what they've just learned, because these ABCs aren't there for them. They can't sustain it, right? That's what I mean. We have a difficult time saying yes because we're addicted to the pep rally of feeling like we're making progress, feeling like we know things, but we don't. I've had more people, particularly on these community talks, come up to me and go, you know who you sound like? You sound just like this person on Super Soul Sunday. You should read their book. I'm like, thank you, but I don't need to. You know, I studied ancient texts of all times that all books that are written came from. Right? I don't need to do that. Right? It's difficult for us to say yes because we're addicted to, oh, this is shiny. Oh, I need this other thing over here. Oh, this will fix it. This will do it. Right? What's the other reason I said? Oh, here's a good one. We don't say yes to these ABCs and to the basics and what we need because we feel like we're too far gone. I've had people tell me that. They're like, man, I am so far gone that like it's just too late. I'm like, man, right? Remember quality over quantity? I know people that have lived more life, right, in 1 hour than most people will ever see in their entire lifetime. That's for real. My greatest fear, right, is not that, oh my God, I'm going to die, but that I don't live. You know, and I don't go to every corner of my consciousness and air it out, you know, like those lawn guys, they have their blowers, you know, and blow it out. Right? That's why we have difficulty saying yes. Those three main issues, biggest issues: addicted to self-help mentality, running from this to that and the other, scared of the work, and also feeling that it's already too far gone. Nobody's ever too far gone. In an instant, we can shift our perspective and see the world from a higher plane. What comes after? Did I say? Oh, yeah, I think I did the alphabet correctly. Okay, Z. Z is for zero. The closest number letting go of all attachments, all resistance. Zero is the present moment. It hasn't yet manifested. When I'm in the present moment and I orient myself to the present, it's absolute empty space. It's an experience of the heart and truly the feeling of divinity. Sometimes scary, sometimes not. But we're not really trying to become something. Right? Our greatest distractions are our physical bodies, our environment, whether it's in our home or our collective global karma, and how we think. Greatest distractions. Zero is, I am no longer distracted by those things. Doesn't mean pain goes away. Doesn't mean that the old ghosts don't pop up every now and then. I don't have a lot of choice about what pops up. And it doesn't mean that I've controlled the environment to make it bend to my will. You know, what it is that I have the ability to observe, to see what's showing up. I have relinquished judgment. I am no longer in the tug and the pull of the volatility of duality, but I'm at the zero-sum game. But all of infinity is available to me. Anything is possible. I have stepped into the space of pure potential. Now, how do we do all of this? Right? How do we work this? So the first thing is that, and through, and when I say Rasa yoga, I'm not talking like a system. I mean, I'm not talking like a brand. It's an ancient yoga. Rasa yoga is the yoga, it's a Ayurveda, and it truly is the yoga of mastery of emotion. Not to get rid of emotion, but to sublimate emotion. To live life, Rasa is a sublime experience of life. And the practice of Rasa yoga is learning to live in that space where you become the great sublimator. You can pull something from the depths of the depth and transform it almost alchemically to a higher space, to a sublime place of being. It comes back to the simple. It begins with the physical body, breath, and the energy body, and how we think. Think of them like three fish. We want those three fish swimming beautifully through that water of consciousness, coherently synchronized. And that's the beginning, the basics. That's the foundation of being able to establish ourselves, to move forward, and to truly thrive in life. Is this something that is quick? No. Can we shift our perspective almost immediately? Absolutely. But all we need to do is look to nature and look to the law of the farm. There's no overnight scheme to creating a beautiful crop. Every farmer knows this. We try, but it doesn't quite taste the same. Doesn't quite show up the same as the real deal. My daughter was telling me the other day, we were having a discussion about eggs. And I said, yeah, the Vital Farms eggs, these are great. You know, they're awesome. And she said, well, interestingly, she says, I've been doing some research on eggs. And one of the reasons that brand of eggs is so great is because they live by the law of the farm. Right? The three fish are swimming synchronistically. Thank you guys all so much for being here. Deep love to you. I hope that we can, if we have your email, we'll be able to forward the chat to you with the ABCs in there. If you have any questions that you would like to share, please go to question, or please send a message to questions@rasayogaschool.org. All of you on Facebook, please comment, like, and share, even tagging friends. It really helps with the whole of the logarithm of Rasa Yoga School on social media. I really appreciate you guys all for being here, and deep peace to you. Namaste.